the Big Biz Show. Riggs Eckelberry in studio for us, part of our Small Caps, our People 2 segment, birth of a public company, and now we're following this company now. And boy, OriginOil, breakthrough water cleanup technology for oil and gas, algae, and other water-intensive industries. And what's been interesting following this, Riggs, the CEO, by the way, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, sir.
What's been interesting following this all along is sort of, we don't have access to guys at Oracle and Apple and Micron. We have access to guys like you, and you're doing the same exact thing they are, just in a different capacity. That's why I love looking at companies like this. And very quickly, since we picked up some new affiliates, I want you to give the elevator pitch on exactly what OriginOil is, and then I got to talk about the Mad Professor, Nicholas Eckelberry, the Chief Inventing Officer for the company, who went to Japan, and this was some big news that came out for you guys.
He really has a revelation for us all. No, real fast, OriginOil has a technology that very efficiently takes organic contaminants out of huge amounts of water. Okay, we learned this when we first were trying to harvest algae, which is, algae is the ultimate feedstock for the world.
Yeah, algae is gold with respect to feedstock.
Yes, but if it's in 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 of water,
yeah, how do you get it out?
Yeah. So we figured out how to enable that, which is a big breakthrough. And then we learned that we could do the same thing for oil and gas contaminants and frack water. We could do it for aquaculture. We could do it for all kinds of dirty water.
So suddenly you have different verticals.
Exactly.
Is what happens.
And the good news is that we have a licensing model, so we can actually license out to partners in all those industries, so we don't have to be in all of them.
So that's, and if you look at the website, and if you're a radio audience member, I want you to go to originoil.com, and if you're television, we can show you right here at originoil.com, and you can see specifically the different verticals he's talking about. Guys, can we put the website up there at some point? Yeah. So you've got the algae, the oil and gas, the aquaculture, the wastewater. What we're talking about today, though, is feeding the world, and I've been banging that drum with you for quite a while, and you have resisted me in what the biggest business model you're going to have is. Obviously, oil and gas. How can I argue when the number one company in this world is either Apple or Exxon? I can't. It's certainly not Mrs. Gorton's Fisherman or something like that. So let's talk about your brother, the Chief Inventing Officer, the Chief Inventor for OriginOil and OriginOil.com. Just recently went to Japan.
Yes. Now, just to set the stage a little bit, we were talking about aquaculture earlier, right? And we did a big aquaculture rollout. We cleaned the water, and we help harvest the algae to feed the fish. Well, now zoom back a little bit and go, wait a minute. It's about feeding more than just fish. Let's see what he says.
Okay, let's check it out. We have a video here. Check it out.
Strangely enough, I was kind of getting a little bit out of algae, kind of, okay, that's a done deal. And I'm just moving along, and then on this recent trip to Japan, I just found out, whoa. Back to algae big time, because it's huge. It's huge.
But in what context?
Well, this is the thing. I kept saying that algae is the 3 Fs, food, fuel, and fertilizers. So that was my mantra, was the 3 Fs, and saying that we needed to, that's where algae belonged. When I went to Japan, I was in a meeting, and I was talking about a new development that we were just done, which is chlorine dioxide production. Small units produce chlorine dioxide with its chemical company. So it's my pitch. I'm going in there, I'm going to talk about chlorine dioxide, mini units, and the guy goes, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's look into that, and let's look into that. And he says, I've got another meeting right now, so I'm just going to, literally 5-10 minutes, want to talk to you. This is the head honcho of this company. And I said, but what I really like is I'm really working on harvesting food, and I brought some of these, I have them right here. I brought some of these pellets that we made from algae.
So Nick is holding up algae
food.
pellets.
And he looked at me and he said, what? You have food from algae? I said, yeah. He said, we have so many clients right now that are in the feed supply that are going bust, literally going bust, because what's happened is there's been drought in Australia, there's been a drought in Texas, there's been a drought and some problems in Brazil, so all the soy and all the grain supplies have become choked up. And it's starting to develop into food riot wars, literally riots. And Tokyo Zoo's shutting down because they don't have any more animal food. Animal feed for any kind of animal is like the #1 topic in Asia, which I had no idea, because here we live here, we go to the store, buy our steak, whatever, we don't know. But over there, it's like an enormous problem. It's like governments are subsidizing, Malaysian governments are losing money, Singapore's, everybody's subsidizing these feed guys because they got to do this. And so I said to the guy, I said, look, it's really crazy. And everywhere I went, I got the same response in Asia. You can do food for animals. So, and I thought about it on the plane, because I had plenty of time on the plane. I thought about it on the plane, I'm going, my God, if you imagine that every single big farm will need a unit, every single village will need a unit, and every large co-op, like agro-business, will need more than one unit. And then they'll need support on the algae growth side. Suddenly you're looking at, I can't even imagine how many units are needed globally. I mean, we're talking millions and millions of inexpensive, heavy-duty, portable units that can go into all these villages. It's suddenly an enormous deal, because now we're in the food supply business.
Like Sully said. They cut that off at the very end there. That was Nicholas Eckelberry. He's the CIO for OriginOil, and that's part of a documentary putting together for the Big Biz Show, big OOIL Biz Television special. But basically, what he said there, and if for a radio audience, if you didn't, obviously couldn't see the video, and we can certainly post a piece of that up at OriginOil.com or BigBizShow.com. Basically, what he was saying there is that he's talking to a chemical company about extracting waste out of water. And then when the conversation got around, as you and I just had, to algae. And oh, by the way, here's some of the algae that we have extracted, and here's algae in the form of pellets that can be used for food. And suddenly, the paradigm shift happens. Suddenly, it's not only about cleaning water, which, as you heard him say, yeah, that's fine. What do you have in your hand there again? So suddenly, just like anything else, we talked about a mandate last week. Suddenly, there's food rivalry going on there. So expound on what we just saw there.
Well, exactly. So we're not going to be the algae farmers, right? The world is going to farm algae.
Sure.
Right? All the thousands of disused rice paddies in Japan.
So here we go with the licensing agreement again, right?
Thank you very much. So we're the enabler. Without us, it would just be a bunch of green water. With us, it turns into a paste that can be pelletized very quickly and used immediately on the animals you have right there in your feedlot.
So we have now the ability to take algae-ridden, chemical-ridden water, which is a problem in and of itself, clean that water, and extract whatever we want to. If there happens to be petroleum, we can extract the petroleum. If it happens to be algae, we can extract the algae. If there's ammonia, get rid of that in a few seconds. So our end result is not only just the clean water, which maybe Joe Sixpack, business owner, wanted in the first place, but there's all kinds of, there's commodity at the end of this thing.
Exactly.
At 35 past, I'm going to steal you for a couple more minutes here. At 35 past the hour, Riggs is going to talk to us about the model of the commodity side of this thing, about the usable oil, the usable algae, and the usable whatever else is in there. Because I think it's important to talk about the fact that this is not a changing model, but a growing business model. And boy, what a great peek inside of it. OriginOil is the name of the company. OOIL is the stock symbol. OriginOil.com is the website. A lot of great videos there, and it talks about all the applications. And what's interesting is there's a new moniker out there called the emerging algae industry.
Nice.
Which we're going to talk about when we come back. Big Biz Show, BigBizShow.com. Riggs Eckelberry from OriginOil, OriginOil.com is the website, and OOIL is a stock symbol. And here talking about some pretty big news about feeding the world. Not only are we extracting algae and oil and everything else from water, but now you're able to take those. I call them commodities. What do you guys call them? It's
well, that's a very good word. Basically, you're right. These are products. These are, for example, when they have the frack water and what they call produced water coming out of the well, they let this stuff settle. It's called decanting, right? Mm-hmm. And then they skim off the stuff at the top and send off the rest. What we found a year ago when we tested our technology in Bakersfield was that there was another 10% petroleum in the water they were carting off, and they were getting it out with our system, right? 10% is a big difference in all business. Right?
Absolutely.
Same thing for algae. You just can't efficiently get the algae out without using our process. The National Algae Association has adopted our harvester as the gold standard. Mm-hmm. Every Friday they run a class in how to harvest using our machine.
So the licensing model on this turns out to be, it's a volume sort of model, right? So when someone installs your technology, the idea is based upon the amount of water they clean up or based upon the amount of byproduct they get out? Or is there two different sort of models?
Well, we've actually put in place a couple of models for our licensees. First of all, we're not marrying, dude down the street. We're
right. Oh, sure.
Right now, we're making a number of non-exclusive private labelers, right?
Sure.
They're taking our technology.
OEMs.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Original equipment manufacturers, and they are embedding the technology in their process, and they might charge by the drink, They might charge by the equipment.
Right.
We just get the same percentage no matter what it is.
Okay.
And we, in fact, built a pay per gallon a program with financing and everything for our OEMs. We said, here it is. You can buy our machine with our financing, charged by the gallon, and the whole thing happens with basically a zero finance situation. We've already put that in place.
So, and that makes it easy for the customer and so on and so forth. Good. Next week, let's talk about not only feeding the world, but let's talk about what they're going to do with all those algae pellets, because obviously you guys have created yet another vertical here for you that I know you don't want to get into, but suddenly now you're in the feed business. We'll talk about that.
Thank you. And I just want to remember one more thing. Oil and gas showcase coming up very soon in California. Big news. I hope to tell you about it.
Good. Can't wait. We'll see you next week there. All right. Origin Oil is the name of the company. Riggs, thanks so much for coming on back down. Can't wait to see you next week. There's the website, originoil.com, stock symbol OOIL. And of course, you can see all the video that we play and everything on originoil.com, as well as bigbizshow.com. There you go.